You can be productive without sleep. While this statement might be obvious for some of you, I think today's society mainly focuses on getting things done fast and efficiently. But without sleep you can't focus, and I learned this the hard way because obviously I thought that if I sleep less I have more time, which indeed should equal that I have more time to do productive stuff. And this was all good for a week, but after that I felt tired all the time and I had no motivation. And this in the long run caused me to do actually less work. So I got fed up and I decided to start prioritizing sleep. Because I realized if I can't rest well, I basically destroy my productivity. So I decided to put sleep first. And today I'm gonna show the methods that worked for me to have a good night's sleep and wake up feeling energized. But first, you obviously have more hours to work if you sleep less. I don't advise you to do this though, because the same thing's gonna happen to you that happened to me. So you'll basically feel tired and unmotivated all the time. And this can be very dangerous because not sleeping basically slowly decreases your brain capacity. Because yes, sometimes you can go a few days without getting a good night's sleep, but this will build up slowly and at one point the bubble will burst and you'll basically burn out like crazy. And I'm speaking about this from experience because this happened to me before. And if you burn out fully, what happens then? Basically, you can't do anything for a while. So even if you got everything down from a productivity perspective, you still need to improve your sleep. And this includes your evening routine, your morning routine, and your sleep schedule. So basically what I'm getting at is you shouldn't deprioritize sleep. You want to find your balance between grinding and resting, because too much of one thing is obviously not good. So the most important step is having a sleep schedule. This is very simple. Basically, you just have a set bedtime and a set wake up time every day. And it's important that they are the same even on the weekends. At first it might be hard to adjust to this, but it's very important. For example, I go to sleep every day at 10 p.m. and wake up at 6:30 a.m. The next thing might be common sense, but don't crunch because otherwise you'll have to pull all-nighters. Also, it's important to organize your morning routine. Even though it's not necessarily connected to sleep, it will decide your whole day. But I'm gonna explain this in detail a bit later. What also has been hard for me is to draw a line between work and rest time and actually stop working on time. Because sometimes I feel like I didn't do enough for the day, so I just try to keep grinding even though my body is telling me to stop. So basically, I set a rule that I will stop working after 8 p.m. every day, so I have 2 hours to wind down. Another thing is finding out how much sleep you actually need. I'm still experimenting with this because currently I'm getting 8.5 hours of sleep. Before I usually did 9, but I'm just okay with this. I don't think I can actually go lower because some days I still feel pretty tired. So let's move on to the most important step in your sleep schedule. How to actually make an easy to follow and fun night routine. As I already told you, first set up your bedtime. The next step is to stop working 2 hours before your bedtime, because then you can start to wind down. So when I stop working at 8 p.m., I play some games up until around 9 p.m. and then I try to stop all blue light exposure, because there have been many studies that have shown that blue light exposure can hinder your sleep quality, but it's not by a very big margin, so if you can't avoid blue light, it's not the end of the world. And what really helps with this is that I put my phone away to the other side of the room at 9 p.m. so I don't start scrolling and I actually focus on winding down. And after I put my phone away and got rid of blue light, I have a 3-step routine. 1. I journal. This doesn't have to be anything too complicated. Just write a bit about your day. 2. I read until my bedtime. And you should probably read fiction books because non-fiction is very good, but your brain is already very tired, so you won't really remember or process any of the information in them. And 3rd, at 10 o'clock, I just go to sleep straight away. If you follow this simple routine, this will get you 90% of the way. But if you still struggle with sleep, I still have some tips for you. Don't eat too late, because if you're full, your body is still digesting, so it will be harder for you to fall asleep. Try to lower your light exposure, and also you can use red lights, which basically signal to your body that it's time to sleep. And also, one thing that actually worked for me is I meditate just for 5 minutes before I start reading. And these breathworks help me wind down too. But I actually just watched an interesting podcast about sleep, and there have been some very useful tips in there, which I haven't tried. So take this with a grain of salt because I have no personal experience in them. So You can try drinking a hot tea before going to sleep. This will actually signal to your body that it's time to wind down. Also, if you can't really fall asleep, you can try a method where you flex your muscles starting from your toes up until your head. And I tried this sometimes when I couldn't fall asleep, and this gave me something to focus on instead of my thoughts, so it actually helped me fall asleep faster. And one thing that's also important to mention is that you need to find your chronotype, which basically means your natural sleep cycle. It's still a bit unclear for me what my chronotype is, although I know I can't pull all-nighters and I don't like waking up too early in the morning. But I found a good resource to test your chronotype, so I will link it down below, and it will probably help you in deciding when you should go to sleep. Also, some tips if you don't sleep at home and you live in a dormitory like me. Use a sleeping mask if your blinds are not the best, because otherwise the morning light will wake you up too early. And the other thing is that your roommates might be noisy, which they are for me, and they usually go sleeping later than I do. So I got these sleep earplugs, which actually are quite comfortable, and they helped a lot with noise reduction for me. So these are the other small recommendations that I have. And let's briefly touch on the other important aspect of sleep, which is your morning routine. My morning routine is also quite simple, but it still ensures that I have energy in the morning. So the most important part of your morning routine is having a strict wake-up time. This should be the same every day, even on weekends. And if you compromise on your bedtime, still try to wake up at the same time in the morning. Otherwise, your body will be pushed back in your sleep schedule, so it will be much harder to fall asleep at your desired bedtime. But what I do in the morning when I wake up, straight when I'm out of bed, I grab a glass of water to drink, and this immediately helps me feel more awake. Then I pull up my blinds and I try to let as much sunlight in as I can, because this basically signals to my body that it's time to wake up. You might find it hard to get out of bed, so what I use in that case is the 5-second rule, which is a very simple productivity method. Basically, you count up from 1 to 5, and on 5 you do the desired action. And this actually helps you commit to that action. So basically what I do in the morning is that I decide that I want to get out of bed, and on the count of 5, I actually do it. And usually after this, I just wash my face and I start doing the things I want to do. So yeah, with your morning routine, I advise you to keep it very simple. But one thing you can also do as an extra is meditate and go on a morning walk. I usually don't go on morning walks because after I wake up, I go straight to the gym because I like to work out in the morning. But yeah, this was my sleep schedule and my morning and evening routine, and I hope you found it useful. Let me know in the comments what experience you have with sleep. Well, until next time, I will see you.